Bonjour, bonjour. Ça va? Ça va bien, merci. Et toi? Ah oui, très bien aussi, yes. Hello everybody, it's good to see you. It is me, Pierre, here on Auntie B. It's great to have you back, Pierre. You haven't been out for a while, but I see tonight's book is one that you're going to really enjoy. Ah, yes, A Promise is a Promise by Robert Munsch. That's right, my friend. We've got A Promise is a Promise tonight. It's Monday, and here at Auntie Bookworm, we've been having Robert Munsch Mondays, haven't we? This one is also especially wonderful because, I know why? It is because it is Indigenous History Month, and it features some Indigenous peoples, the Inuit. Yes, it does feature a family who is an Inuit family in northern Canada. So Pierre, if you want to sit back and enjoy the story, I think we can get started. Now, my friends haven't checked in yet. If you want to check in and let me know you're there, I'd love to see you. That'd be awesome. Now, let's begin by acknowledging that Auntie Bookworm is on the traditional territory of the Mississauga First Nations, and for us it's the Mississaugas of Scugog Island, and we are very grateful to be there. I see my friend Mason is there now. Bonjour. Hi, Cicada. So we're on the traditional territory of the Mississauga First Nation, and we give thanks for their teachings of how to take care of the earth and how to take care of each other, our relations. Yeah. And we couldn't be here without the Williams Treaty and being welcomed there that way. Oh, look, Alice is there tonight, so thank you, and let's learn some Indigenous facts tonight. I would like to teach you a little bit about this author. Now, this story was published quite a while ago by Michael Kusugak, along with Robert Munsch, and the pictures are by Vladanya Krakorka, and here's a picture of the people involved in the story. Yeah, cool, huh? Now, it says on the back of the book here that Michael Kusugak was born at Cape Fullerton on the west coast of Hudson Bay, and he remembers traveling with his family in search of seals and other animals, and listening to his grandmother singing and telling stories. Now, I learned a little bit more about him because I thought this was important to understand that the Inuit peoples are a group of people in Canada who generally live in the north. They can be in Nunavut, the Northwest Territories, northern Quebec. There are a few in Ontario and a few in the Yukon as well, and Labrador. So all of those places in northern Canada are traditionally where the Inuit would live, and the Inuit's lifestyle is adapted to living in the far north. Now, this particular person, Michael, he was born in a little place known Qallupiluq. That's nice to say. Qallupiluq. There's some great words in this book too that he's used some of the Inuit language, which is called inuk. And when he went, his family moved around a little bit, but I wanted to mention that when he was 6 years old, a plane arrived in the community he lived in, and he was taken away to a residential school, and he had to live away from his family that year. He was very sad about that, and the teachers didn't allow the children to speak their own language of Inuktitut. They were and the teachers were very, very strict. So he was quite sad. And then, so he got to go home in the summer, and then the next time the plane came to take the children to residential school, he hid, and he didn't go. But then he decided later that he would go, and he was actually one of the first people to graduate from high school in the Arctic, in the Eastern Arctic. Yeah. So he's had quite a history, as many of our Indigenous friends have had, and having to cope with what happened with residential schools. So I thought I'd point that out tonight because it is part of our history and we're learning to become more and more aware of that. Let's take a look at our comments and see who's here. Oh, Kennedy's here. And there's Andrea's here. You forget the boys, eh? Well, you can tell Jack and Sam I said hi anyway. So let's get started with A Promise is a Promise by Robert Munsch. Along with Michael Kusugak and Vladia Krajkorka did the pictures. It was published by Inuk Press. Here we go. I hope you don't get too scared on this one. There's some spooky spots in the story. On the very first nice day of spring, Alushua said, "I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to go fishing in the ocean. I'm going to go fishing in the cracks in the ice." Said her mother, "don't go fishing on the sea ice. Under the sea ice live the Qallupiluq. They grab children who aren't with their parents. Don't go fishing in the ocean. Go fish in a lake." "Right," said Alushua. "I promise to go fishing in the lake, not the ocean. And a promise is a promise." So Alushua set out like she was going to go to the lake near her house. But when she got to the end of the street, she didn't go to the lake. She walked down the long snowy path that led to the ocean. At the edge of the ocean were large cracks where the tide broke and jumbled the ice. Alushua looked very carefully and did not see any Qallupiluq. She said, "Oh, on TV I've seen Santa Claus, fairy godmothers, and the Tooth Fairy, but never any Qallupiluq. I think my mother is wrong." There she is. Well, just in case her mother was right, Alushua stood beside the sea ice and yelled, "Qallupiluq have dirty noses." Nothing happened. Alushua yelled, "Qallupiluq smell like a dead whale in summer." Nothing happened. Alushua walked right out onto the sea ice and yelled as loud as she could, "Qallupiluq! Qallupiluq can't catch me!" Nothing happened. The only thing Alushua heard was the sound of the snow blowing over the ice. So Alushua got out her line and her hook, and she walked over to a large crack in the ice and started to fish. Right away, a fish grabbed the hook, and Alushua pulled it up. She caught 6 fish, boom, 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 in a row. And Alushua yelled, "I'm the best fisherman in the world!" And from behind her something said, with a voice that sounded like the snow blowing over the ice, "The best you may be, but the smartest you are not." Can you see that little hand? Ooh. Alushua turned around. There, between her and the shore, were the Qallupiluq, and they looked at her and said, "Have you seen the child who said Qallupiluq have dirty noses?" "Oh no, Qallupiluq, I've seen no such child. And besides, your noses are very pretty." "Have you seen the child who said we smell like dead whales in summer?" Oh no, Qallupiluq, I've seen no such child. And besides, you smell very nice, just like flowers in the summer." "Have you seen the child who yelled, 'Qallupiluq, Qallupiluq can't catch me'?" Oh no, Qallupiluq, I've seen no such child. And besides, my mother says that you can catch whatever you want to." "Right," said the Qallupiluq. "We catch whatever we want to, and what we want to catch right now is you." Oh, one grabbed Alushua by her feet and dragged her down under the sea ice, where the Qallupiluq live. The seawater stung Alushua's face like fire. Alushua held her breath, and the Qallupiluq gathered around her and sang with voices that sounded like snow blowing over the sea ice. Human child, ours to have, ours to hold. Forget your mother, forget your brother, ours to hold under the ice." Oh my goodness, I told you it was creepy. Alushua let out her breath and yelled, "My brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters! I'll bring them to you. I'll bring them to the sea ice." And for a moment nothing happened, and then the Qallupiluq threw Alushua up out of the sea into the cold wind of the ice, and said, "A promise is a promise. Bring your brothers and sisters to the sea ice, and we will let you go." Alushua began to run up the long snow-covered path that led to her home, and as she ran, her clothes started to freeze. She ran more and more slowly until she fell at the ground, and that's where Alushua's father found her, almost at the back door, frozen in the snow. Oh dear, at least the dog was licking her. Alushua's father gave a great yell. He picked up Alushua and carried her inside. He tore off Alushua's icy clothes and put her to bed. Then her father and the mother got under the covers and hugged Alushua until she got warm. After an hour, Alushua asked for some hot tea, and she drank 10 cups of hot tea with lots of sugar and said, I went in the cracks in the sea ice." Said her family, "Not so smart. I called the Qallupiluq very nasty names." Said her family. "Dumber still. I promised to take my brothers and sisters to the cracks in the sea ice, and I promised to take them all to the Qallupiluq." Said her family. "A promise is a promise." And then her mother and father made some tea, and they sat and drank it, and they didn't say anything for a long time. From far down the snow-covered path that led to the sea, the Qallupiluq began calling, "A promise is a promise. A promise is a promise." The mother looked at the children and said, "I have an idea. Do exactly as I say. When I start dancing, all of you follow Alushua to the cracks in the sea ice." And the children all whispered to each other, why will our mother dance? This is not a happy time." So confusing, isn't it? What's going to happen? Alushua's mother went out to the back door and yelled, "Qallupiluq! Qallupiluq, come and talk with me." And they did. Come right out of the cracks of the sea ice, up the long path to the sea they came, and they stood by the back door. It was the most strange thing, for they had never before left the ocean. The mother and father cried and yelled and asked for their children back, but the Qallupiluq said, "A promise is a promise." The mother and father begged and pleaded and asked for their children back, but the Qallupiluq said, "A promise is a promise." Finally, Alushua's mother said, "Qallupiluq, you have hearts of ice, but a promise is a promise. Come and join us while we say goodbye to our children." Everyone went inside. First, the mother gave the children some bread, and she said to the Qallupiluq, "This is not for you." But the Qallupiluq said, "We want some too." The mother gave the Qallupiluq some bread, and they liked it a lot. Then the mother gave each of her children a piece of candy. And she said to the Qallupiluq, "Oh, this is not for you." But the Qallupiluq said, "We want some too." The mother gave the Qallupiluq some candy, and they liked it a lot. How is this trick going to work? She gave them bread, she gave them candy. Let's see. Then the father started to dance, and he said to the Qallupiluq, "This is not for you." And the Qallupiluq said, "We have never danced. We want to dance." And they started to dance. First they danced slowly, and then they danced fast, and then they started to jump and yell and scream and dance a wild dance. The Qallupiluq liked the dancing so much they forgot about the children. Finally, the mother started to dance, and when the children saw their mother dancing, they crawled out the back door and ran down to the long snowy path that led to the sea. They came to the cracks in the sea ice, and the Qallupiluq whispered, "Qallupiluq, Qallupiluq, we are here." Nothing happened, and the children said, "Qallupiluq, Qallupiluq, we are here." Nothing happened. Then all the children yelled, "Qallupiluq, Qallupiluq, here we are." Nothing happened. And then they all went back to the land and sat on a rock by the beach. 2 minutes later, the Qallupiluq ran screaming down the path and jumped into their cracks in the ice. Qallupiluq stood up on the rock and said, "A promise is what you were given, and a promise is what you got. I brought my brothers and sisters to the sea ice, but you were not here. A promise is a promise." The Qallupiluq yelled and screamed and pounded the ice till it broke. They begged and pleaded and asked to have the children, but Qallupiluq said, "A promise is a promise." And then the Qallupiluq jumped down to the bottom of the sea and took the cracks with them. And the whole ocean of ice became perfectly smooth. And then the mother and the father walked down the long snowy path to the ocean. They hugged and kissed each one of their children, even Qallupiluq. The father looked at the flat ocean and said, "We will go fishing here, for Qallupiluq have promised never to catch children with their parents, and a promise is a promise." Then they all did go fishing quite happily, except for Qallupiluq. She had been too close to the Qallupiluq and could still hear them singing with voices that sounded like blowing snow. Human child, ours to have, ours to hold. Forget your mother, forget your brother, ours to hold under the ice." There you have it, my friends. That's the story of A Promise is a Promise. You should really listen to your parents when they give you a big rule like that, don't they? At the end of the story, they included this information that a Qallupiluq is an imaginary Inuit creature, somewhat like a troll that lives in Hudson Bay. It wears a woman's parka made of loon feathers and reportedly grabs children when they come too near the cracks in the ice. The Inuit traditionally spend a lot of time on the sea ice, so the Qallupiluq were clearly invented as a way to keep small children away from dangerous cracks. Michael Kusugak, thinking back to his own childhood in the Arctic, made up a story about his own encounter with the Qallupiluq. He sent it to Robert Munsch, who had stayed with Michael's family while telling stories in Rankin Inlet in the Northwest Territories. And A Promise is a Promise is the result of their collaboration. So there you are, friends. Promise is a promise. And a little bit about Indigenous history to think about tonight. I wanted to thank you all for being here with me again. Some of you are on quite a run. You haven't broken your streak yet there, have you, Kennedy? I don't think so. A thank you also to those people who made it out for our butterfly release today. I still have 2 butterflies that weren't ready to fly yet. Keep in mind, one of them only emerged on Friday, so we still have one on the side there and one up here at the top. Not sure if the camera's picking that one up. It's opening its wings a bit. Anyhow, so I think I'm probably going to wait till Wednesday, but we'll see if they're flying around tomorrow. Maybe I'll try it again tomorrow. So there you go. That's all my news for now. Take care, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to Auntie Bookworm. Bye for now.